Well, let's get started. Like I said, I just want to thank everyone for joining us for our cultural preservation Sazón. We have some really great guests with us. I want to just give you a little bit about Hispanic Access Foundation. Hispanic Access Foundation's mission is to connect Latinos with partners and opportunities within the outdoors to improve lives and create equitable access in our outdoor spaces. The vision of Hispanic Access. Ooh, I'm having some technical difficulties right now. Please excuse me. As you can see, the vision is available there. I do want to get started, though, in introducing our lovely speakers, and I want to give them the space to speak for themselves. So first and foremost, we're such super fans of her, Queen Quet. By all means, please let the community know about you.
Hola, ¿cómo estás, mi familia? Glad for day one more again with Hispanic Access Foundation at the Queen Quet head from the body of the Gullah Geechee Nation and thing like that. And so glad for day upon the hill with all 100 children. And so I am the chiefess and head of state for the Gullah Geechee Nation. And I'm so happy to be on the hill with my family from Hispanic Access once again, and definitely making sure things flow correctly to our communities that they call us BIPOC, even though we didn't get a vote in that terminology. It is such a good thing to be here with all of you. So this is a blessing. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Queen. Next up, we have Hector Varela. And just for everyone that's participating, please know that we have our interpreter, Virginia, with us, who will be translating for Hector. Hector, please let us introduce yourselves to the audience.
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be here. My name is Hector from Puerto Rico. I work to Surfrider Foundation. And to my last 20 years, I work for the communities or the environmental protection at Puerto Rico. And thank you, Hispanic Access Foundation, por tenerme acá.
Un placer, un placer.
Queen Quet's actually the one of the elders, and she's a really good.
Next up, we have Violet Sage Walker.
Thank you. Haku, and welcome. My name is Violet Sage Walker, and I'm with the Northern Chumash Tribal Council in the big, beautiful state of California. I'd like to just have a shout out to all of our Hispanic Access fellows and friends in California and Queen Quet, and very happy to be here with all of you as usual. Very proud of our Chumash ties with Hispanic Access Foundation, especially here up on Capitol Hill, and the celebrations going on around ocean conservation, and our partnerships mean a great deal to our people. So very excited to be here today.
And again, thank you all for participating. We all, as Hispanic Access Foundation, work not only as a community, but as individually with each of our speakers and some of the things that they're going to be discussing today. I thought a really good way to start today's presentation, or like online virtual talk, is to kind of imagine as if we were in the spaces that you guys are actually advocating for. So if our eyes were all closed in this moment, can you describe to us the place or your home that you are here discussing in terms for cultural preservation? And anyone can start.
I can start. I would say, if you close your eyes and then visualize a place that on one side you have marsh that's flowing gently with salt-filled air. And on the other side, you turn the other way and you see the Atlantic Ocean and the waves coming in and hitting the shore as if they're reaching for you. And all you need to do is reach back. And you turn around and look behind you, you see tall, majestic oak trees with what we call a long white beard, Spanish moss, actually hanging down. And you tune in with your soul and you can hear the drums and the polyrhythms of the ancestors seeming like they're syncopated with those waves. And you breathe in all the beauty, but you also breathe in the power of the legacy of the indigenous people of the land. You breathe in the power and the pain of the Africans that were planted like seeds in the soil of the Sea Islands. And then you smell this beautiful array of seafood being poured over a dish of rice as we sit on the shore together. Welcome, as you Yeti people are cracking teeth like this, shunting like that, to where we be, where we know we be, Gullah Geechee. And you're now in the Sea Islands or on the Sea Islands of the Gullah Geechee Nation.
Wow, Queen, that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. I was very fortunate to be in your spaces at your conference not too long ago. And man, that just took me back there. Definitely am missing some of the delicious food. Hector, can you describe for our audience your home and the place that you are advocating for and protecting?
Puerto Rico, it's an archipelago. It's really amazing, blue water, clear water, sand dunes, mangrove, beautiful people, many spots to surfing, diving, snorkeling, kayaking, or only happiness with the family. It's amazing. It's my paradise.
Qué bueno, gracias por eso. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Violet, can you describe to us Chumash, Chumash Marine Sanctuary, and what that feels like and looks like?
Certainly. So imagine standing on what we call Turtle Island, in the United States, in the farthest western point in California. We would stand on the shore and look to the setting sun, and we would call that Spot Point Conception or Humquac. And we would look out into the ocean in the Pacific and see the setting sun right in front of us. And we believe that that is the place where all souls leave this place and travel into the next life. And that's our spiritual place. And our souls, they travel to Simili-Quash, which is the next world. And so as you're standing there on the shore of Point Conception, you would be surrounded by massive megapods of whales and dolphins and sea creatures. 1,000 years ago, you would have walked the earth with the pygmy mammoths and the giant sloths and the cave bears and cave lions. And today you might find black bear like scavenging on the seashore for crabs and clams. And you'll also find people enjoying the beach and fishing and having their families down there at the beach and enjoying our coast of Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo. And so you'll find that the place that I live is a place of multicultural and diversity. And although we are the first people, we're a community of people that care about the coast now. And so you have over 200 miles of coastline in the marine sanctuary areas from Santa Barbara all the way up to Ragged Point to Big Sur. You have sacred places, including Morro Rock in between. You have historic fishing communities like Morro Bay, and you have traditional villages like Avila Beach. You also have massive energy production and oil production and offshore wind production. So these places that are super sacred to us and to the communities face massive threats from outside forces. And it's my passion and my desire to elevate their statuses, to elevate the need to protect these places. And so by partnering and reaching out with our neighbors and Hispanic Access Foundation to spread the word around the world, how these international sites are desperately in need of protection so that all of our families can enjoy fishing and spending time on the beach and enjoy the life that I grew up with. So hopefully one day you will visit the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary, and I welcome all of you there.
Oh yeah, definitely have to now after that tale. Like I just imagine myself like being encrusted by the salt and like hearing everything, all the animals and the wildlife with it. Awesome. Thank you guys for allowing us to kind of transport into each of your spaces. And I like that we have a good representation of our, East Coast down into the belly of the United States and up, or into Turtle Island, up onto the other side of our coast. It almost feels like this as an image that I'm getting from everyone being involved. I want to open up with some questions into more of the work that we're all doing as a community and as individuals. And Hector, I want to start with you. How do you view and define heritage and preservation? How do those words define to you? What?
Yo creo que van cogidas de la mano. Si quieres, te digo así, tú le vas diciendo.
Oh, sí.
Okay.
I think that heritage and preservation go hand in hand.
El patrimonio es lo que amamos y la conservación es lo que hace el patrimonio o donde vivimos.
The heritage is what we love, and preservation is what allows us to carry it on.
Y creo que si logramos que cada individuo en el mundo ame su patria, va a amar su medio ambiente y lo va a proteger.
If we get everyone to love their heritage, then this way we can ensure the protection of the environment.
Y ese creo que puede ser uno de los grandes retos, tratar de alejar a los jóvenes de la tecnología un poco para acercarlos un poco más al planeta.
And this is one of the great feats that I think we face to detach our youth a bit from technology, to get them back into the world of our heritage, so that they can carry on their legacy of heritage and preserve the world in which they're in.
Gracias.
Thank you.
That was beautiful. And for our panelists, please feel free to intertwine as well your messaging, or if you agree or disagree in any of the questions that are being asked. Queen, I would like to ask you, what is the distinction between conservation and preservation in your perspective?
Oh, a very interesting question. Yes, for me, conservation and preservation differ in this way. People who are conservationists tend to want to hold on to the resource, that their work is in an arena of saying, well, let's not use too much of a thing. Wherein preservationists seem to want to kind of capture a thing in a period of time and hold on to it. And so it's my experience with preservationists is very much like preserving jars. My mother and I do what we call jarring. Some people call canning. We don't call it canning because it's actually in a glass jar when you put the lid on the top. And so when you do that, you lock in that air, and we need in order to breathe, in order to have life force. But when you're ready to dispel of it, you can take that top off, and then you take out what's in the jar. And whatever you do with it after that, it's no longer there. You rinse out that jar, and that jar can be empty, or something else can replace it. And in preservation, we often find that people put historic markers in places to say what was there. And they consider that preserving a historic place or site by putting signage there to say, this used to be here. We used to have it captured in time, and that time's over. Where to me, conservationists are thinking about the future, saying, well, we're maybe using up a little bit too much too fast, so let's pull back some, so that something might exist for the next generation of the family. So for me, that's how those two things differ based on the practices of both that I've witnessed.
That's so beautiful. Yeah. Violet, what's your take on that exact same question?
Well, I actually was hoping that I got Hector's question,
Oh,
but
you can
but
absolutely
let me
answer.
answer.
No, let's
Let
do
me
that instead.
answer. I just
I
want to
wanna
say, if we could make a T-shirt, we should make a T-shirt that says "Heritage is love," and that should be our like motto as a group. Because what I wanted to say is that I actually would have answered that the exact same way. So I don't know how you guys pick panelists that think exactly the same, but I would have said that our heritage is why we're here today, and that's why we've made it so far with the Chumash Heritage National Marine Sanctuary designation, is because we love it to death, and we too much. And so and I saw Juan just put in there that I was singing and calling to the whales, but heritage is love, and it's all of our heritage. And so when we talk about the Chumash people, there was a time when the Chumash people were being hunted to extinction by the government of the United States, and our people hid in Hispanic communities and took Hispanic surnames and changed our identity to survive. And so if you think about how we are interconnected and how we have these very deep, long-lasting relationships between our communities all around Indigenous people, all around the country and around the world, have shared traumas. And we also have this like deep passion for like love and food and like conservation, the right kind of conservation, which is future thinking, which I really love. That my dad would say thrivability instead of sustainability, because sustainability is that preservation idea in the can where it's just sitting there and it's like the status quo, but thrivability is like what we could get to, what we were like, the status quo. So I like both of what they said. So sorry, I had to respond to both of those. Like, it was just really great things to talk about.
Oh no, you're totally fine. And I really do like that thrivability is like a term, like that term in itself, right? What it stands for. That definitely that's what I would wear on the shirt for sure. So let's continue this conversation. And by the way, I know you kind of started already talking about this. Tell me some of the work that you're doing right now to protect the sites and cultural significance of the Chumash.
So one of the things I just wanted to say off the top of right off the top is that I know that you're talking about the designation process of national monuments, whether they're marine sanctuaries or national monuments, national parks. And I just wanted to say that it is a very difficult, long process, and to not be discouraged, because it has taken us 10 years to get to where we are. And one of the things that has given us the like energy and courage to keep going is community. And we have to have fun doing this work or else we will burn out. And so I just want to like tell you all, like, whatever you're doing, make sure you have a bunch of good friends and a bunch of people that like to like cook and eat together and meet together, because, go to the beach, take time to enjoy the forest and things like that we're protecting, because it is a long, thankless, very sometimes discouraging, and we have been very successful in this marine sanctuary campaign because we have got really great partners. And sometimes when we're tired, like you guys, specifically you guys, will pick up, things that you can do for us and help us out with. And, our other partners help us. And sometimes you just need that extra person to lean on, extra staff, extra help. And so I would just say that in the national designation processes all together, they can be long and very complicated and very discouraging. So I just want to say that like we should take the little wins and celebrate like little things and make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, by reminding ourselves why we're doing this work, because it can be very hard and lonely at times.
And can I,
Absolutely. Oh, go
can I-
ahead, Queen. Go.
Yes, I just want to add to what Sister Violet is saying, because a lot of times people do feel like they're on the shoreline alone, and so it's good to have more than the wind just embrace you, but to embrace one another. And that's why I appreciate every opportunity that Hispanic Access reaches out to the Gullah Geechee Nation to say, yes, you may not be listed as Hispanic, but we all are indigenous to these places and these spaces. And therefore we reach out to one another and embrace one another. And we're there as that support system for one another in a multilingual, multi-ethnic, multi-gendered fashion, that we get to share all of it like a good plate of rice. We all love different rice dishes in all of our cultures here. And so, a good plate of it with some great seafood and things mixed in, we want that type of what I call a Gullah Geechee gumbo of our communities, where yes, we have that love of that food, but we also have to make sure we feed our spirits. And I believe that's why we're doing all the work that we're doing. And as she mentioned about the long process, believe me, I was a person that suggested the process that became ultimately the Gullah Geechee Cultural Heritage Corridor. I've worked on a number of, and that's a national heritage area. I've worked on a number of other trails and other things with federal involvement. And yes, the bureaucracy is real and can be very tedious, like you're really climbing the hill with high heel shoes on with the wind blowing against you. But do not get discouraged, because somewhere along the way, when you sit down, if any of y'all remember Conjunction Junction and all those, y'all remember the thing with I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. Or sometimes you got to sit next to Bill on Capitol Hill, for a little while, catch your breath. Well, while you're there, meditate, regain your strength, and stay focused on what it is that you want to achieve, because we're not doing it for us. We're doing it for our families, our communities, our ancestors, and our children that are yet to be born. So it's very important that we don't give up, but we strive on. And so even now we're in the midst of the South Atlantic Salt Marsh Initiative and the Greening Gullah Geechee Communities projects, and all of those we deal with the government alphabet soup. But we have to start to stir them into our good pots and add a little flavor. And that takes some time. And we just have that slow simmer for a really good meal. So make sure that you don't rush your soul, rush your heart, because your heart will give out if you just race all the time. You have to just take some time. And like I like to say, woosah. So if you have to do it, sit next to Bill on the hill, just do that and regain your strength. But keep going. Never stop. Keep going.
This is actually such a perfect segue, because all of the work that we do as individuals and also as a community, right? Because all of us are working together in the things that we're trying to protect. I want to know, for each of you, how do you rest outside? How do you connect outside? Like outside of this meeting, outside of us going to meet our policymakers and having to schmooze funders, how do each of you rest outside? Whoever wants to start.
Okay, I thought Hector was going to go ahead and start since he wasn't the one the last time, but okay. What I do is I make sure that, in the midst of all this zooming around, as I call it, I used to always tell people I was the first Black Jetson, because I'm a computer scientist and I always loved the Jetsons, and they had no Black Jetsons. So I said, I'm the first Black Jetson, until COVID came and we all were on these platforms we're on tonight, Zoom. And I think people took it too far and started racing all the time, just zooming around and wanting 1,000 meetings a week. And I was like, no, I will not get pulled into that trap. I will have a certain amount of meetings for just a certain amount of days during the week. And other than that, I'm going outside. I'm going to go to the shoreline that I'm fighting for, that we've been blessed to still have. I'm going to go outside and I'm going to sit underneath a tree, and I'm just going to breathe it in and listen to the birds chirp. I'm going to actually sing some of the songs my ancestors sang as I go out in the field and I harvest my food, or go out on a boat ride and cast the net. I'm going to do these things, and I make sure that throughout the day, if I have 4 meetings in the day, that I have space between each one, that I just go outside and just breathe in. And if I'm traveling, I try to make sure I'm somewhere near water. And so that way, even if I go out on a balcony and can look at the water, I go out there and I meditate because it's rejuvenating. So part of rest is for you to rejuvenate, and we have to do that.
Beautiful, Queen. Hector, how do you rest outside?
Tengo varias formas de conectar de acuerdo a mi estado de ánimo. Por ejemplo, el surfing es la preferida. Es como puedo soltar y agarrar. Yo creo que esa conexión con el mar es milagrosa.
So I have various ways of connecting, depending on how I'm feeling. My favorite is surfing, and I think that connection is just miraculous.
Otra es escaparme a una montaña con mi familia y poder compartir con ellos un día lejos de todo en algún río donde haya poca gente en Puerto Rico.
Another thing that I like to do is to take my family hiking and to go to a mountain and go away from the city for a day that we can spend together.
Y en otros momentos, mi forma de conectar es hacer un evento de siembra o limpieza o restauración de dunas con la comunidad y ver cuando llegan niños y personas a hacer cosas que quizás nunca han hecho y que lo disfrutan.
And another thing that I love to do that I consider a way for me to connect is doing something like a dune restoration or planting with my community. And I love to see the children come and form part of those as those events, and that to me is rejuvenating.
Son algunas de las formas.
Those are just some ways.
No, that's beautiful. And everyone, like, there's just so many. I'm just feeling really inspired right now, and I'm losing my words for it. Violet, how do you rest outside?
Well, that's easy because I really only have one other thing I like to do. So if you know me, if you've been to visit me, then you will probably get to brush my horses, and I ride every day. So I go out and ride my horse every single day. And if I can't, then that's like being here in Washington, D.C. is like a sacrifice because I can't ride my horse. So I pretty much, but then again, I ride my horse at the beach or in the mountains or, through all the places that we're protecting. So I would spend more time on my horse, and I never feel like any time is wasted spent riding. So any chance I get, I will be with them. And sometimes some of you know that I am with them when I'm Zooming. So those of you who know me know I had a baby horse like 3 weeks ago, and I Zoomed from the stall for like the whole week. So, so some of the best meetings I had, you got to see the baby horse. So that's, it's a pretty simple answer for me.
Oh, that's so beautiful. I'm gonna bring it back now. And I know some of you have already kind of mentioned this, and I want Hector to start off. What is like the roadblock that you have been experiencing thus far with cultural preservation in Puerto Rico? And I know specifically you're working on crash boat in the area.
Con la conservación particulares que estás trabajando en preservar.
Pues uno de los mayores retos que estamos enfrentando como ciudadanos en Puerto Rico es la corrupción gubernamental en las agencias medioambientales.
One of the primary things that we're facing is as citizens of Puerto Rico, is the corruption of las agencias medioambientales
Sí.
in these environmental agencies that are in Puerto Rico.
Otra cosa que pues podemos confrontar es la falta de fondos para proseguir proyectos o programas.
And of course, there's a lack of funding to be able to carry out some of the work that they're trying to pursue.
Y la falta de educación de algunos sectores que no comprenden la importancia de la conservación de los recursos, y lo podemos ver en la bahía de Aguadilla, que es donde queremos hacer una reserva marina.
And another thing is the lack of education towards the around some of the importance of the los recursos naturales, the los recursos naturales,
natural resources.
natural resources of some areas. And so that is also something that they're being challenged by.
I feel like this is probably a really similar issue that a lot of other folks are dealing with within their journey in cultural preservation. Queen, I've again had the pleasure to speak with you a lot, and I know you've dealt with a lot of roadblocks and preservations for Gullah Geechee ancestral lands. Can you please share maybe one that you guys are currently dealing with or have dealt with?
Sure, well, I would say this is a consistent one. Misinformation, misdirection of funding based on that misinformation. And that is because you have people who do cultural mimicry and not live the culture and traditions. And so then there's this proliferation now of people forming nonprofit organizations and putting the name Gullah or the word Geechee in the title, or forming businesses to exploit the terms Gullah and Geechee. And then when you're dealing with these types of things, especially with protecting your environment so that your cultural heritage can thrive and live on, then you have people getting funding that's only being utilized for them to pay themselves. And then for them to maybe do one or two things to take a photo out for social media. Meanwhile, there is no justice in that, and there is no continuation and advancement of the continuation of cultural heritage. And the funds have been diverted away from the native Gullah Geechees that are living the culture, that are on the front shorelines, fighting to hold on to not just the environment, but holding the environment so to be here for our future generations to live on and thrive on and continue our cultural heritage. So that has been an ongoing problem, coupled with then government entities at local, state levels who want to come in and do what I call destructionment, what you call development in other worlds. I call destructionment, because God has already made the place beautiful, but people then want to build into the shoreline, into these natural resources in ways that now we realize are causing ocean acidification, which threatens our food security, and it then becomes a domino effect of other things. And so, and it erodes the coast. So you have people trying to erode the culture by incorrectly presenting themselves as Gullah Geechee who are not Gullah Geechee. And then you have the other side of it, where you have people trying to erode the very environment in which our culture really lives. And so those misrepresentations now get out so fast because of social media and people's online presence that it takes others a long time to then, as they say, separate the chaff from the wheat and realize who we do for true and things like that, and know who the real Gullah Geechees are. And so sometimes by the time they do that, these funds that we could have used to advance our cause are already gone. And now there may not be that new pool of funding. So that's something that's been an ongoing problem that we're still dealing with now.
Yeah, I remember when we were there, it was we were protesting with y'all for the golf course development, right, on your lands.
We beat him over and over, and we beat him again Monday because he appealed, because he lost again. And so he appealed and he got beaten again on Monday. And I'm going back next Monday. We're going to beat him again because he's going back to the county to try to appeal to them to say that we shouldn't have our cultural protection overlay district, which is the only law in the world that protects a living culture of people of African descent in America. It's the only one, the cultural protection overlay district that we have for historic St. Helena Island, South Kakalaki, as I call it, South Carolina, here in the Gullah Geechee Nation. So I appreciate Hispanic Access and all of our environmental partners that came to St. Helena for the Coastal Cultures Conference and stood up with us to say, yes, this culture needs to continue, and we're here to help them fight to continue their culture. But again, you all discern who the real people are, because you're the real people. Like attracts like, you see? And so you can see through the falsehoods, and not everybody does.
Yeah, absolutely. Hispanic Access is definitely a huge supporter with all of y'all in the work that you're doing. And Violet, I want you to also be able to share some of the roadblocks that you've been dealing with Chumash, so that way our community understands.
Sure. The one thing that comes to mind, which we're facing maybe a little bit different than other areas, is we're facing massive industrialization threats off of the coast of California, and also decommissioning of huge nuclear power facilities, oil and gas facilities, and offshore oil facilities, and the biggest offshore wind facility in the world going right on our coast. So we have what I call threats from every direction. And if you stand on the point that I was talking about like earlier in the beginning, when you could picture like our coastline and stuff, we have threats from the north and from the west and from the south and from the east in every direction. And it's huge undertaking for a small group of people to be able to keep up the fortitude that it takes to fight like these you know, sometimes poor decision making, but sometimes, you know, good. But all in all, the culture is always taken a second back seat to the need for energy in America. And it's a simple, it's an unfortunate situation, but it's the truth that our culture and our community will always, no matter how much we do, be second class to energy. And you know, that's something that like hurts me to say, but it's true. And whether it be fossil fuels for cars, offshore oil drilling, nuclear power, you know, hopefully not offshore wind. Hopefully we can have a new dialogue and a new way forward with offshore wind. But it's something that we are fighting to protect the last 1% of what we have left. And even that is being encroached on. And so I feel for everybody in this room has their own battles, but our elder would, you know, told us that we need to, instead of thinking about everything that's going on in the world, we need to take care of the places that we live. And if we just did that, that might be enough. And if everybody did that, that would be enough. So I try and keep that in mind. Our elder Palula, who's passed a while ago, and she always said to me, just take care of the place you live. And you know, I think that that's a good thing to share with people, is if we could all just take care of the places that we're from and where we live, that might be enough.
That's very beautiful share, and I think that has a lot of value and fact to it. You know, if we were each taking care of where we live, then the impact of it would be just as great on a worldly level. I do want our audience members to begin putting questions into the chat as I ask you our final question. That way we leave space also for y'all to, you know, talk about your stuff. But and this can be just like a one recommendation, what recommendations do you have for policymakers and advocates, pretty much anyone that's on here, to help further the progress of the work that you're doing? Anyone can start. I'm gonna give it to Violet.
Creo,
I'm gonna have my helpers here put the shemashsanctuary.org into the chat. One of the things I know we only have like a minute left, but one of the things I would just like to ask, and I have asked this in the future, or in the past, sorry, is that we are facing our last public comment period coming up in about anywhere from like 2 weeks to 2 months. And if people could just join us in making a federal public comment, if Hispanic Access Foundation wants to lead a joint sign-on letter, that's great too. But just, you know, if you want to help us, this is one way you could help us, is just make a public comment and tell them how important the culture, the heritage, our love for the ocean is, and protecting our sacred places. So shemashsanctuary.org, we dropped that into the chat. Also on Facebook and Instagram, Shemash Sanctuary. Like me personally, I would love that. So Violet Sage Walker on Facebook is fine. But like I said, the work you do and the work that we do together, we have to have a passion and a love for it. And I really love connecting with people all over the world and helping support other people. So anybody that ever needs our help and our support, we're always going to be there. If we can, we will be. So thank you for this time, Sheely, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to everybody.
Of course, and I see Queen's already put in all the links, all the tags in there. Y'all can go support her in that factor. Queen, is there any other ways that you can have policymakers and advocates here help progress the work that you're doing?
Absolutely. As you well know, every March is Gullah Geechee Volunteer Month. And during that month, we also host the Coastal Cultures Conference. And so that is when our partners of all kinds, all walks of life, including our federal partners and our environmental partners, come to historic St. Helena Island. And we start from there. And next year, we're also going down into the Georgia portion of the Gullah Geechee Nation's coast. So please come down. Join us for the Coastal Cultures Conference. And if you follow us at any of those links and follow our blog, GullahGeecheeNation.com, and with Geechee ain't no I and Geechee for the we, all right, for all those out there spelling it. And so if you follow those, you'll know exactly when we're having those events, but you'll also see the link already for GullahGeecheeLand.com. And that's for anybody that wants to collaborate with us, partner with us, or become a member of the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition. You can find all the information at that link, and then we can join forces on other things. So thank you to all the 100 children for this year. Gracias.
Thank you, Queen. Hector, how can we support you and as well anyone here in the work that you're doing?
Pues el caso particular de Puerto Rico a nivel político es bastante diferente al del resto de los Estados Unidos.
The main thing is that the political situation in Puerto Rico is so different than what is happening in the rest of the United States.
Para los hispanos o las personas que viven en los Estados Unidos, pueden ayudarnos buscando los congresistas del este de los Estados Unidos que tienen injerencia en Puerto Rico y pidiéndole que las agencias federales tengan más acción en Puerto Rico.
The primary thing is that if we look for American people that have their constituents that have efforts in Puerto Rico, to please ask them for more support in Puerto Rico.
Igual pueden entrar a nuestras redes como surfrider.org y ayudarnos, sea donando tiempo o donando dinero.
And as he represents Surfrider, you can go to surfrider.org and look for the Puerto Rico chapter, and you can donate either time or money to be part of what they are doing in Puerto Rico.
Y por último, creo que es sumamente importante que cada persona que esté acá, adicional a su trabajo, pueda apoyar alguna organización de conservación ambiental o alguna organización que está haciendo movidas positivas para mejorar esta calidad de vida como sociedad.
And of course, now from everyone that's listening in on this conversation, to take back to their workplaces, and encourage those places to be involved in efforts for conservation and protection of the environment.
Thank you all so much for the work that you're doing and for participating in this. Hispanic Access is a council of Olas y Accion, which is the Ocean Advisory Council, actually just released their 2023 toolkit for national designations of all kinds. And in there, we have many examples throughout our country and many recommendations and funding policies and board ideas into making these processes more accessible and equitable for our communities. I want to just thank everyone for participating. You can go over to hispanicaccess.org to hear more information. I believe the link was already dropped into our chat. And again, thank you to our lovely speakers so much for participating in this. And we want to wish everyone an excellent CHOW for the rest of the week.